Hello and welcome to another episode of Film Spill, a movie night podcast with your host. I'm Chelsea. Film Spill, if you already don't know, is a podcast that comes out every week, and we talk about a movie by a female filmmaker every episode. We also discuss women in the entertainment industry in general, and we play slumber party type games, spill entertainment gossip, and get to know each other and our guest. This week, we have a very special guest who has been with us before during season 1, but is back.
Hello, everyone. My name is Danyela, and yes, I am a writer with Onyx and writer in general when I can. And I'm excited to be back and talk about today's film.
Well, let's get into it. Today, we're going to be talking about Olivia Wilde's thriller/horror film, Don't Worry, Darling. But first, it's time for Name That Episode. This week, we're going to be discussing Handmaid's Tale Season 5, Episode 1, 2, and upcoming 5. Elizabeth Moss has taken on the role of director a lot this season, which I felt like that needed to be shouted out. She's the main character. She plays June Osborne. I don't know if you've seen Handmaid's Tale.
I have. I've seen the first few seasons, but stopped watching after, I think, season 4. I just was not a fan of it and the direction it was going. But I'm glad to hear she's directing. That's exciting.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited that because usually I've seen it happen before where like series will let their like star actors end up directing an episode. But I think that's if like someone shows interest that they want to do this and they want to carry that on. But I feel like it's such a heavy task to pull through, is that you're directing the film, but you're also acting in it. So it's like you're thinking of so many things at the same time. And I feel like that's just a heavy thing to do, like a workload. Yes. But why did you stop watching? You said you didn't like the direction it was going. Please elaborate.
I think it was just so all over the place. I think like they tried to handle too many like subplots that just didn't matter, and then like it never felt like it was like getting to the point of like getting out of Gilead or like solving any real issues. And I don't know, Elizabeth Moss's character kept going like in and out of Gilead and like trying to, I don't know, save her daughter, and it just felt very repetitive. I think that was the main thing. It felt way too repetitive. So many zoom ins of her face too that were just not necessary and just comical. So I stopped watching. But I know my mom really loves the show, and I think she's like committed to finishing it, even if there's like 10 seasons. So she still tells me about it.
That's so cute. I love that. I wish my mom was a fan.
I feel like it's a show that I think is important. That's why I hate that it's gone on so long and like kind of lost its direction, because I think like the first 2 seasons are so relevant and really good TV. But I just don't think I don't know. American shows are a lot like that, where they just kind of fall off of being like this perfect first couple seasons and then just like fumbling it completely the rest.
Yeah, that does happen a lot, because I feel like they start giving up, or they start losing their ideas, which I mean, it happens. Like you don't know where else to take the story. You're like, all right, the majority of what we wanted to happen happened in the first few seasons, and now we're on season 6 and we have no idea we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So then that's when it starts lacking. But I thought at the beginning of the season that I wasn't going to like the direction that it was going. But then each episode now this season keeps surprising me.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so like I'm digging season 5.
Okay, it's good to know. Okay, maybe I'll start watching it if it's like fun surprises and reveals.
It is. You're just on your toes. I feel like I watch it like on my way to work now, because I don't have enough time to watch TV when I get out of work, because I usually like work on my stuff. So now I've committed time in the mornings to put my shows on. And at first I'm like, oh no, like it's fine. Cause some shows, if they're not as important to me, like if I'm not that into them, I'll wait till later. But like Handmaid's Tale is always that show that I always put on automatically. I see a new episode and I'm like, all right, I have to see what happens. Like, and I never know what to expect anymore. I thought I knew like I said, I thought I knew the direction that I was going, that it was just going to be basic and that I wasn't going to be really into it because it is dragging out. Like the story is she's still trying to look for her daughter, or trying to like, reunite with her. But you're going to see, I think, I forget what episode, because I watch it like all the time. I don't know what episode I'm on right now because I'm watching it every week. But yeah, it's getting there. You're starting to like, all right, finally. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That sounds good. Yeah, I think that maybe I'll start it again. I mean, I was invested in the characters. I was just so disappointed that they weren't, like moving forward. It wasn't like exciting anymore. Maybe just my attention span's so bad that I like need full on storytelling, like reveals every 5 seconds. Okay. I'll add it back to my list of things to watch. This sounds like a good recommendation.
Me too. I'm very particular and I get bored really easily. Like you need to capture my attention the whole time. And if that's not happening, I'll like start using my phone and then I'll stop completely paying attention and then I'll stop watching the series. But no, this time around, yes. Let me know if once you catch up, obviously, because so I feel like it doesn't make sense unless you watch it through. So watch it through. But push through and then let me know what you think about season 5.
Okay, yes, I will.
And specifically the ones that Elizabeth Moss directs, let me know.
Okay, yes.
We'll talk more. If you haven't heard about the show before, or this is all new to you, this show is based on the best-selling novel by Margaret Atwood. The series is set in Gilead, a totalitarian society in which used to be parts of the United States. Gilead is ruled by a fundamentalist regime that treats women as poorly of the state and is faced with environmental disasters and a plummeting birth rate. And speaking of plummeting, oh my God, I can't even say the word anymore. But the birth rate decreasing, that's brought up again this season and what they want to do about it. So, just a little 411, but I won't spill too much. All right, let's get into the slumber party type game that I have in store for us today. So, what I picked for us to play, because in honor of the movie, I felt like this was just right to play this game. But it is Guess the Harry Styles Song with lyrics.
Okay, yes. This is great.
So I am going to read off the lyric and you're going to tell me if you know the song. I tried to pick out like the popular songs, like popular song lyrics, so it wouldn't be too hard.
Yeah. No, I'm a Harry Styles fan, so I probably will know all of them. Maybe there are a couple. We'll see. I know the popular ones, but I like the test. I'm excited for the challenge.
Oh, yes. Okay, I'm excited. Okay, now that you said that you're a Harry Styles fan, that's a done deal. Okay, I'll start with number 1. Okay, so it goes, I want more berries and the summer feeling. What song is that?
Watermelon Sugar.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Ding, ding, ding. 1 point. This is out of 10.
Okay. Yay.
Okay. Number 2. Loving You's the antidote.
Ew. Is that like the full, does it go, is that the full sentence? Is there another line accompanied with that? Like just the...
No, that's like the most prominent. I can sing it for you. It's like, loving you's the antidote. No, I can't sing it. Sounds better in my head.
I don't know.
Golden.
Oh, I don't know that song actually.
That's actually one of my favorite songs.
Okay, I'm a fake Harry Styles fan. I don't think I know that song. I know the name, but not the song.
Yeah, maybe you have, because it was like trending everywhere. The beginning of the song's like da-na-na-na, Dun, 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 dun. No?
I have no, yeah, no. I think I like
Oh.
when I listen to him, I like pick out my favorite songs, like love these songs and not like full albums, except for like Harry's House.
Okay,
Wow.
I feel you. I do that sometimes too.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to Golden. No, I'm adding it also to my list.
Then is I overplayed it, but it's okay because I can still jam out to it because it's a good bop. All right, number 3. Forget what I said. It's not what I meant.
I guess I'm really not that much of a Harry Styles fan.
Forget what I said. It's not what I meant. And you're right
um,
here. I think.
um, is it new? Is it an
Sort
old
of
song?
ish. It's like a year old now. It's from his album where it's like it's like a fisheye.
Oh, right. I have no clue. I don't know.
Falling.
I also don't know that song. Okay.
Oh my god,
Wow. I like don't know
that's
any
another
of the
bop.
like I don't know any of Harry's popular songs. I thought that I did.
I'm questioning it now. I'm questioning the fandom. Okay. Okay, so we're at 1 out of 2 right now. So you got 1 right, 2 wrong.
Okay.
All right, number 4. Strawberry lipstick state of mind.
I like know this lyric, but do I know the song? Oh, Adore You. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yay! Ding ding ding.
Yeah.
Got it right. See?
Yay.
You're coming back. You're making a comeback. So we're at 2. 2 points for Daniela.
Yay. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good, honestly.
Yeah.
I tell you, I tried to make these as easy as I could. All right, number 5. You can't blame me, darling, not even a little bit.
I can't blame you. I wonder if this is like inspiration for Don't Worry, Darling. I can't blame darling. Is this new? Is it a new song? I'm like phoning a friend.
Yes. Um this one, like, you have to listen to it through and then you're like, oh yeah, this one's a little bit tricky. I don't listen to this song as much.
You Can't Blame Me, Darling, for
You
loving
can't
you.
blame me, darling. Not even a little bit.
Oh no, I don't think I know. Um, yeah,
It's okay.
okay.
I probably wouldn't have known this one either.
Yeah.
It is To Be So Lonely.
Oh, I like that song. The fact that I
But it's
didn't,
like
yeah, I guess I don't know the lyrics that well. I do like that song though. It's a good song.
it's a good song. All right, number 6. Don't call him what you used to call me.
Um, I, can I get a second lyric? So when
That's all I got.
don't call it what you used to call me. Yeah, I don't think I know. I couldn't even make a guess. I don't think.
Cherry.
Oh, okay. Also don't know that song that well. Maybe I just don't know that album. I know the album that Fallen and Golden and Cherry are on, but I don't think I know that album that well.
Yeah, there's
That's
some
probably
songs that like, yeah, I feel you. You got to listen to the whole album.
I
And
know.
we
Gotta play it
typically
fully
don't.
through. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, next one. The next one's a repeat from another song. So maybe this lyric is clear. So number 7. I'm in my bed and you're not here.
I know this lyric. Okay. here. I know this song. This is like a popular one. I feel like I've like recently probably heard it too.
You probably, because this is like the very beginning, like part of it's probably like 2 beats in. I'm in my bed and you're not here, and there's no one to blame but the drink of a wandering hand. Something like that. See, I'm not the greatest with lyrics, but I know the beat. And it's falling.
Okay. Wow, that is very similar to
the other one. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's okay.
I do know that song, but not the name. But I know the song.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Number 8. I've got a good feeling. I'm just taking it all in.
Let's see. What are Harry Styles songs that would have this lyric? Is it Daylight?
It is not.
It's my only guess.
I don't listen to this song that much. This is Treat People with Kindness.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't listen to that song that much. That is a good song, but I don't hear it that often.
Exactly. All right, number 9. Breaking through the atmosphere and things are pretty good from here.
This sounds so familiar.
This is a really popular one. This one got overplayed too.
Oh, okay. I should cheat. Look at my Spotify. Yeah, no, this sounds really familiar. You see, I would never be good at song association games or games like that because I think it's the pressure. I
know. In the moment you think you know it.
Yeah, I was so confident, and now I don't think I've gotten any but like 2. Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't know it, but I feel like once you say it, I'm gonna be like, of course, that's it.
Sign of the Times.
Of course, yeah.
Of course.
That's still a good song. I do love that song.
Come stop your crying. I should have said that. Come stop your crying. I feel like that would have been better. All right, and number 10. So right now you've gotten 2 right so far.
Okay, maybe I'll get this last one.
All right, this is for the kind of win.
Okay.
In this world, it's just you. No, in this world, it's just you. You know it's not the same.
As it was.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I felt like that was hard.
No, I feel like that song was also a little overplayed, but good song. So I know that lyric pretty well. 3 out of 10. That's like almost 50%. 30%. What's that math?
I feel like that last one, because you got the last one right, you get the other points for the other one. So
thank you. Yeah, in my heart, I'm a winner.
No losers here.
Yeah, all winners.
All right. Well, that concludes our slumber party type game. That was super fun to get to see how much Daniela actually knows about Harry Styles songs. All right, let's get into it. So today, as I stated before, we are going to be talking about Don't Worry, Darling, 2022. This film is obviously new. Don't Worry, Darling is available to watch in theaters and soon Prime Video. This discussion will contain spoilers for the film, so if you already haven't seen it, go watch and come afterwards to hear our thoughts. I know that we picked a film this week that's still in theaters, but maybe this will encourage people to go for $5 movie Tuesdays and go watch, because that's what I did. And I was so sleep deprived when I went to work the next morning, but I needed to go see it.
Yeah.
So my first question to you is, what part stood out to you the most?
Um, I don't have like a ton. I don't know, it's a spoiler for my thoughts, but I don't have a ton of positive things to say about this movie. So I think that anything that stood out were all really negative ones. I think like the most prominent thing that I left the theater thinking was how much the like score was in like every single scene and how like bothered I was with that. Which I don't know if that's like a common thing that people felt, but I felt the movie was like loud. Like there was just too much noise when it felt like a movie that should have been really self-reflective and like quiet. And that's just like what I would have preferred. So that was like the one thing that like my biggest thing that stood out. It was pretty though. It was a pretty film. Yes. Initial
Yeah, there was a
thoughts.
lot of attention to detail in production design and making it feel like a picture perfect community.
Mm-hmm.
So they paid attention to it really feeling like the 1950s vibe. But then we see at the end of the film that it wasn't based in that time era, that it's actually like modern. And we can get more into that for sure. But for those of you who haven't seen the film or haven't even heard of the film, the synopsis of the film is in the 1950s, Alice and Jack live in an idolized community of Victory, an experimental company town that houses the men who work on a top secret project. While the husbands toil away, the wives get to enjoy the beauty, luxury, and debauchery of their seemingly perfect paradise. However, when cracks in her idyllic life begin to appear, exposing flashes of something sinister lurking below the surface, Alice can't help but question exactly what she's doing in Victory. Um, so I actually really like the film, believe it or not, which because I was getting like those. I mean, I was reading comments or I was seeing what people had to say about it that like it didn't really make sense. But I think that what really stood out to me is that it was different than something that I've seen before.
Mm, okay. Yeah.
Um, yeah. What do you feel?
I feel like I don't know if you've seen Pleasantville or Stepford's Wives, which are both films that like feel pretty similar. And I think because I grew up knowing about those movies and watching them, that this did feel familiar and just not as. I mean, Stepford's Wives is not known as like a great film. I think it has like terrible reviews, but it's also like one of those like almost cult classic films of that like era. I think it's like early 2000s, and similar vibes of like the wives are like stuck in these roles, like competing with each other, and they don't know much about the town that they're in. And Pleasantville, similar too, where they're like stuck in this town that has like ideals that are like hidden, and they're trying to figure out what it is. So I think it's definitely been done before, and I think that was my issue, is that I wanted like a modern take on that that felt like it was well executed, and I just don't think that this was. Like by the end, I was like, I don't think that this twist was like fully like executed well throughout the film.
Um, do you think that this was the best film that Wilde has directed so far?
She also did Booksmart, right? Did she do
Mm,
something besides that?
mm-mm.
Okay. I also am not a huge fan of Booksmart. I think similarly, I feel the same way, where she like took an idea that I think has been done really well and wanted to make it modern, but just I just didn't love the characters or feel that invested in them. I would have to rewatch it because it's been a while, but I'm not like a huge fan of her as a director so far. So I don't think either one I would gravitate towards. But I'm like I would watch something that she does in the future. Just I don't know. This one, I think Booksmart might have been a bit better, I guess, in terms of like just consensus in general.
Did you know that she was going to star in this film?
I don't think I've seen her act until this film. And I don't think I knew that she was going to be in the film, but I was like pleasantly surprised by her performance. And I had no clue that she was, yeah, one of the characters. I think she was pretty good.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I wasn't expecting to see her. I
Mhm.
thought that maybe she would have put herself as the role of as like a main character role if she was going to be in the movie. But I don't know, there was like some controversy that I was seeing or that I was reading about the role in general, that she wanted it to be someone who was blonde and who looked younger to play the role.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she didn't, yeah, like she didn't feel like she fit the role because she is older.
Yeah. No, I think her being Florence Pugh's character would not have worked. Like she fit as the neighbor character pretty well.
So, as a writer, what things stood out to you about the dialogue and what things were you in disagreement with?
I think I remember liking the dialogue and it was fine. I think in terms of just like the script in general, it just felt like a script that needed to be like at least a couple more edits needed to be done. It did not feel like it was complete. And I think that was like what I was left with. Just and I feel like I could have been overly critical when watching it, but I really went into it thinking that I would like it. And so this wasn't like a me being like, oh, I'm gonna hate this movie. So that's why I was a bit surprised. Yeah, I do not remember exactly about the dialogue in particular, but there are definitely issues that I had like with the script in general.
Did you think that the pace was too slow? That we should have had more of the reveal a lot sooner?
No, I don't think so. I feel like they were good. Like going, it would be like a good rewatch because I think that there were probably good hints that that was the reveal. I don't think it was that. I think it was less of like it not like it being a surprise than it just not being like making sense fully. Like I think even when he right, like they have a conversation at the end where they're like, if he dies in this world, then he dies in real life. But then it's kind of like, how does that work for like everyone else? Like, how does that work for Florence Pugh's character? Like, how does I don't know? A lot of the like world building I feel like was questionable. I think that that's probably what people had issues with. Um, yeah, that's what I think was more confusing is how it all worked. How did their deaths work, or why they even had? I don't know if you remember the scene where they like take her and she goes through like the therapy or like the medical things that they do just to get her back to like being obedient, I guess, to him. That scene, like in hindsight of knowing the ending, it kind of doesn't make sense because if this is this like VR world, why would she need that? Why not just like unplug her and like somehow restart? Like why have like some kind of medical procedure in that fake world? Because what does that do for her if she's like real? Does that make sense? Like that was kind of confusing to me. Like, things like that were questionable.
And that makes sense. There was elements that are questionable, like towards the end when we do finally get the reveal, the fact that Harry Styles' character, I forget his name. What was the guy's name again?
No clue. I want to say Matt, but that does not sound right. Or like Lewis. I
Let me
don't think
see. What
it's
was his
either one
name?
of those.
Oh, Jack.
Oh, right, Jack. That makes sense. That's yeah, that's better.
We guess Lewis.
Yeah,
Peter.
Jack.
Oh my gosh. So with his character, right, we see at the end that he was pretty much controlling Alice to be a housemaid because he felt some sort of insecurity that he couldn't provide as a male figure in the household. And okay, I have to throw this in here real quick, but they made him look so bad.
They did. That was the scariest part of the movie. I think that was his best performance. I think the ending was his best performance. It was good in that. It's true.
Yeah.
I was, yeah. No. That was shocking.
I was not expecting him to die. I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting her to like kill him with the glass either, but hey, she was trying to get away and he was like keeping her there. So there was
Yeah.
just a lot going on. It's like, what would I do in that moment? I don't know. It's
Mhm.
like, it's just wild. But anywho, yeah, I think that there was just a lot of open spaces. Yeah, that there could have been clarity in, but that's why I feel like because there was only so much more time that they had left towards the end of the film that they rushed it. They like rushed a reveal. They rushed that this was her only way to get out was to leave this realm and like wake
Mhm.
up So how could they find her? So Olivia Wilde's character Bunny states like that, oh, that they'll come and find you in the real world. But how do they come and do that? Do they come right away? Do they exit out of the virtual world? I feel like that could have been more towards the end. We could have gotten the reveal in the middle of the movie, then more elaboration towards the end, and then we could have found out more about that. But maybe they wanted it to be more of a mystery. There's a lot. So getting into who Olivia Wilde is, she's an American actress and filmmaker. She's from New York, New York. Her directorial debut was the teen comedy Booksmart that was made in 2019. Don't Worry, Darling is her second feature film. Her parents are both journalists. Fun fact. She comes from a family of writers, which makes sense. She has appeared in several popular projects, including the TV show House and Disney's Tron Legacy. On both House and the OC, Wilde played queer women, which was considered very groundbreaking at the time. A little background on the film. The film was announced in August 2019 after a bidding war amongst 18 studios to acquire the next Olivia Wilde directed project. Principal photography began in Los Angeles on October 26, 2020, and filming wrapped on February 13, 2021. Stated before, it only got a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it was not loved by the audience. And that's rough because I've seen average films do 70%.
Yeah, that's definitely, I will say, I think that consensus being so low is a little strange. I don't think it was awful. Even when I was oh, I don't like this, it wasn't just terrible. What you're saying, there are so many movies that are actually awful that are 70%, or on IMDb it's 8 out of 10, and it's this does not deserve that.
Yeah.
So,
do you think it has to do? Yeah, I know, that's what I was gonna say. Do you think the drama?
I think it could do with the drama. I hate to feed into someone, because I think Olivia Wilde has really questionable statements, but I also think she gets kind of a bad rap that I don't want to say this, but I think it could be that it's also because she's a female director. It does feel like it might be that too, that people are kind of just going and wanting to hate on it. I know that she mentioned that, and I think she mentions that sometimes to just, I don't know, to have if something bad comes up about her or Harry or Florence or the Shia LaBeouf thing, it's well, it's because I'm a woman. But I also think that it might be true for the way that this film was received. I think that is a part of it, the drama, and also just because it's easier to pick on women and when they're in that role.
It's very true though. Women are still victimized, and not that we are victimizing ourselves, is that the industry is victimizing us, making it seem we are the issues, especially that there's drama going around it. They're probably saying, oh, she's catty to work with, or she has drama that surrounds her. There's just so many bad stereotypes that come with the territory of being a woman in film. And because that is so it affects your movie, it really does. The publicity that your film could get could be bad just because of one little instance, because that's all they want to center every story around. So when Olivia started dating Harry, that was all that anyone could talk about. And I understand that that's kind of weird to be dating one of your lead actors on your film set. I feel there has to be a level of professionalism as well. And I don't know how those rules play out, but I just wouldn't feel comfortable either. Being Florence and having those sexual scenes with Harry, and his girlfriend is staring at me and is in half these scenes with me as well, when I have to act all lovey-dovey towards you. That's awkward.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that I feel even in hindsight of the things that are problematic about her, it all seems to be about her relationship, or what you're saying, being catty. And I think that that's just an easy like insult or something to bring up about women in general, that if that's like the biggest deal on set was that she was catty or that she like a terrible work environment, which is awful if that is the case, compared to like people who are there are bigger issues of like directors who are like sexually assaulting people and like making an environment that's so uncomfortable that they can't move forward and go on with their career or like even talk to anyone about that. I feel like there's so many more instances of that of male directors than there are female directors. And that if we're tearing down Olivia Wilde for her just having like an argument on set with Florence Pugh, it's not that big of a deal. And that shouldn't influence how we see her as a director because it's really not our business, I feel like, about their set drama and really doesn't have anything to do with the movie.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have affected how people view the film. And I feel like people came in with judgment already going to watch the film who have no prior film experience or knowledge to begin with. So who are
Yeah.
criticizing things that they don't even know what they're talking about or don't
Yeah.
even know about. But that happens a lot. That's happened with a lot of female-led movies where they're just not received the right way. I know that Florence had made a statement that she didn't want to, that she saw that the trailer included a lot of sexual takes, right? Like from the sexual scenes that they did. And she didn't want people to just be focused on that oh, there's sex scenes or that, but there isn't sex scenes, right? But the trailer
Yeah.
made it seem like there's going to be sex scenes, and she didn't want people to just assume that there was more to it, that it had to do with the representation of female pleasure, which that is definitely what we saw the female Florence being more pleasured than Harry, right? Harry was doing the pleasuring. There was no sex between the two. It was just like oral sex.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A part of that, I feel like I think Olivia Wilde also made complaints about that people are going and saying that it's like, are like wanting to only see it for sex scenes between Florence and Harry. But it also feels like if you don't want people to feel that way, then like having the trailers or talking about that in particular is going to contradict what you're saying. Because I feel like there are a lot of discussions about that before the movie came out that I think it's kind of a fault on like the press and PR that they probably should have focused less on that so that people are not going in expecting that. Because I feel like I heard a lot of conversations about that. It's like, oh, it's really steamy. Like that's the reason I'm watching it, instead of it being like, this is like for the plot. So a part of, I don't think it's like entirely their fault, but I think it was a like PR thing too, that was the focus. And they should have shifted it before the movie came out.
A lot of film and television shows are focusing on that though. And not necessarily are they publicizing that in the trailers, right? Some of them, like, we don't even see that until we start actually watching the show. But like some shows and some like movies are just focused on that. And I don't know where television or film, when we started shifting into just that and that just being the focus. Like, I understand that is in nature with who we are as humans. Like, we have a sex drive. I get it.
Yeah.
But isn't there more to the story? Like, isn't this 2 pages that you have written in to have this sex scene? Can't there be more?
It's so funny because I've had this conversation recently about this very thing, is that it feels like it's good that we're kind of pushing back. I kind of do agree that Olivia Wilde was saying that maybe there should be more instances of like female pleasure, and just like if we're going to have sex scenes, then show like a variety, like show a spectrum of it. So maybe it feels a little more realistic and just a real depiction of your characters in their world. The only thing is that like what you're saying, a lot of times it feels like it does not belong. Like it's just there to be there. And even like the scripts that I read for work, I cannot tell you how many scripts I read where it's literally like 10 pages of just erotica. And it has nothing to do, like there's no story. This is just like you wanting to live out your fantasies, which is fine if you want to do that on your own, but it's not a story. That's not like, no, you're not going to get an audience based on that.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think that that's where we're lacking now in television and in film, is that we are leaning towards the wrong type of messages. That's for sure.
No, I think so. I think people have like lost. That's what probably my issue with this film was, that it just feels like the themes that a lot of films are like trying to go for just not feel as grounded as they could, probably because there's so much like fluff in areas that shouldn't be there. And a lot of it can be just like, I don't know, detailing a romantic relationship that's so unnecessary to the story or its themes, and that now we don't really have, yeah, there's no like real layering or analyzing films, it feels like. I'm sure there is for films that I'm just like missing, but a lot of them it does feel that way.
Yeah, and one thing that I did notice about one of the themes in this film was that the women kind of win at the end. You know, like the women in the film overpower the men, right? So the women are the ones who kill off the men who are controlling their lives. And that's something that I appreciated seeing, that these women didn't feel like fall necessarily all victimized to that. Only like one of them that like turned out to be crazy because she found out the truth, and she ended up, I think, committed suicide, but we don't know. Yeah, we don't know like that whole like story of what really went down
Yeah.
with her. Um so yeah, I do appreciate that's a message that is being thrown out there. But that was just it though.
Mhm.
There wasn't really much more than just that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I feel like. That's really what I left, like wanting more from the story. I think it would be interesting if there was like someone, instead of it's just the men who are like forcing their like wives, if it was like women who are also forcing. I think it'd be interesting. But I know that's not really the message. I think the message was that like control of like men being unhappy with women not being submissive. Um, which
Yeah.
some of those themes were they were prevalent, but it also just felt like they weren't, I don't know, fully cultivated.
Yeah, like why didn't we see women start standing up for themselves, or like to have their own voice? Like we did feel like, I felt like they were playing off the roles, which I get, it's part of the story, right? They were in these like controlling roles, but when Florence, right, Alice starts fighting back, we don't see much more of the other women fighting back. We just do like an
Yeah.
acceptance, like in a realization. Like I don't know, like yeah,
Yeah.
something's lacking there with the theme.
Yeah. I don't even think for Alice's character that she did that much fighting before she ended up, did she, wasn't it like kind of handed her that information? I feel like a lot of information, like the reveals about Jack and just the world in general, kind of like handed to her. I don't know how much she like investigated it. So like, was it Margaret, I think, who committed suicide in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning? I think like their characters, that was my issue with Alice's characters, that she felt so similar to Margaret, that it felt like as a protagonist she didn't do enough that show that she was really fighting for, like, to get out. Like it felt like it was fine that she was emotional. Like I don't want to say she was too emotional, but it didn't feel like she was like actually making steps to be like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Because even when she got that file from the doctor, I don't think she did much with that. Like she didn't go and like try and discover more. Like I don't know. I didn't feel like did a lot to like get out of
Yeah.
her situation.
And it was, like I said, slow. Even towards the end when she's running away, she's like debating at the last second before she touches
Yeah.
the door. I wouldn't debate. I would
Yeah. I would have like
run.
fully get out of there. Yeah.
And I'm like in the theater saying, just run, go.
Mhm.
Why are we having this whole pause for like a dramatic effect? No, just
Yeah.
go.
And the positive dramatic effect wouldn't, like, it would make sense if it was like, okay, yeah, she's reflecting on like maybe she should stay, but like she never wanted, there was never a moment I feel like in the movie she really wanted to stay. Like I feel like at that point she'd be like, yeah, I want to get out of here. And so
Mhm.
that like pause would not make sense. She would be, yeah, she would be like running and ready to go.
Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of questionable moments we can agree on.
Yeah.
But to, people, I think people should watch it to get their own sense of opinion before they read into the drama and other
Yeah.
news about the film. So they can construct their own thought process on it. But seeing how the society played out, would you ever see yourself living like they did in Victory?
Absolutely not. So never. Yeah, never. I talked to my sister about this. She's like, yeah, I mean, like they don't have to work. Like that sounds nice. Like not having to work sounds good. But I think that idea of like going through the same day and cleaning and having to make food and like wait for a husband sounds so awful. And like there's just not enough. No, I think I'd rather work her like 15-hour nurse shift that she was doing and was like miserable in the real world. Because at least she was like in the real world. She could like get takeout and like Chinese food and a bunch of other things instead of having to cook every single day, which sounds awful.
Yeah, with whatever processed food or whatever they were
Yeah.
putting in that food.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, definitely
I probably wouldn't either. It is something that is appealing that you get a nice home.
not. Yeah,
You
they
get,
did.
yeah,
They have a
you
really
get
nice
it,
home.
and they get food, I guess, for free. They don't have to go grocery shopping.
That's true. That's true.
They got
There
like
are some
everything handed to
benefits.
them.
That's true. That is true. But then you just like you feel so isolated and stuck.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I couldn't eat eggs and toast every single
Yeah.
day.
Oh
There's
no,
no
definitely
way.
not.
Some things about the production design. I know we were talking about the production design earlier. Um, I watched this Amazon thing based on the movie because I thought that the movie was on Amazon already, but they actually have behind the scenes of what happened to like on set, and it looks really cool. But the production designer was female. I thought that was pretty interesting, and they really focused, or she really focused on the attention to detail and creating the environment to really make you feel like you were in a stimulated environment. Everything is heightened and perfect. Olivia speaks very highly of the DP, that they're a very like talented DP that's worked on other things as well. And yeah, they seem like they did a really good job with their work in this film. Like I think that this is what sucks about production, right? Is that everyone is talented in their own fields, right? And when they come together, you can make a really like beautiful film. And I feel like this really was, right? With the attention to detail, and
Mm,
everyone did their part. But this, when there's not a good story, when the story isn't thought out, that all just goes away. Like no one pays
exactly.
attention to all of the hard work that gets put in to all of these departments to make it look so good.
I know I didn't know that. And I think all of that is really interesting because it was a very, like you're saying, very detailed film. So really beautiful to look at. So it does kind of suck that it wasn't like just a well thought out story because there's so much potential in the way that it was produced. Like I feel like all of the production was like, yeah, everyone, even like the performances from the actors. Harry Styles did his best. Like I think everyone tried their best to make this a really great film, but somehow just did not turn out as they
Yeah, and everyone
envisioned.
was questionable with Harry Styles taking on this lead.
Yeah, but I think he
But
did fine. He did fine.
he was really trying to lose his like heavy accent, and I give him
Yeah,
credit for that.
yeah. I think people definitely talked about that his accent wasn't. But I think yeah, it was purposeful that he wasn't this like perfect accent. And I think like his American accent was pretty good at the end. I was convinced by it.
I was convinced by Harry. And he does some singing at the end too. So I was like, oh, he's singing. And like, I wonder if he played like a show for them, you know? Like, how was his persona on set?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder what that was like. Well, I don't know like how much he was around. But I hear that he wasn't like he was like they could never find him or Olivia Wilde. That's speculation, but supposedly they were like running off. But I also think he's like busy like touring and making music. But I wonder if he was just like filmed his scenes, and then it was just like bye. But I don't think so. He seems like a nice guy that he would be present on set.
That must be hard though, being like a singer who's traveling around who has to be working on music at the same time you're playing a lead role.
Yeah,
Do
you
you
know, she
think
makes
that he's
music.
going to keep acting?
He's in a movie that's coming out called My
What?
Policeman. Yeah, it's called My Policeman. I think it's coming on Prime. I think it's a true story, and it's it's a gay love story, and I think it's at the time where like I think it's like the 50s or 60s where he's like hiding his relationship. So we'll see if
Wow.
he's in it's like Army Hammer Timothy Chalamet era right now.
Yeah. Oh
So
my God.
I hear
Oh
it's
no.
really good, but I've heard good reviews so far. But yeah, so he's acting. I don't know for like the future years, but he has another movie coming out this year.
He
That's
probably was like, I actually like acting. Let me just
yeah.
keep acting.
Yeah. A part of me does feel like this isn't completely have to do with Don't Worry, Darling, but I think like his performances, yeah, I think his performances on stage are almost better than like his acting. Like I think he's more committed to being this like entity that is Harry Styles. So like he has to like I feel like with so many performances, so many concerts, he has to be like turn himself off when he goes up there and like be this persona that everyone knows and loves. That I think that's a better performance than like Don't Worry, Darling, because he has to like everyone wants to see the Harry that they know, like TikTok or the song, and he has to continue that night after night. And I'm sure there's a part of him that's not that it's a performance that he has to like kind of yeah like unplug and like lights out and just perform and kind of like take a back seat and just do this persona.
Yeah. And you know what? That's when you're like put into a category, especially as a singer, people only ever see you as that. So like Harry
Mhm.
Styles, they only ever saw him as a singer. So when he started acting, everyone's like confused and not for it. They're like, oh no, he can't possibly be an actor. Like there's no way he has that level of talent. But then when he comes through and he shows like, I got this, like I can do this just as well as I can, being an artist. But I know we spoke a lot about Harry Styles as an actor, but I want to talk about Florence as an actress
Mhm.
and how much she's been killing the game. I first saw
Mhm.
Florence in the Black Widow film, and I didn't even know it was her because the accent was so strong.
Yeah,
What was it, like a Russian accent that she did?
I think so. Yes, I think it was
And it was
Russian.
so good. I thought it was
Mhm.
legitimately her accent.
She's really good.
Yeah, very talented. And then I didn't know she was in Midsummer. And I watched that film for the first time this year because I wanted to see what the hype was about. And I did. Have you watched it before?
I have.
Oh
It's
my God.
unsettling. It's
It
unsettling, but
is.
it's very good. It's very good though.
But let me tell you that after I finished watching that film, I'm like, I am not going to go on a trip to Europe anytime
Oh
soon.
man.
I mean, okay, so going back to like Florence, right? Oh yeah, so it I found out that Wilde was originally set to play Florence's part and Florence was to play Wilde's part, but they traded roles when Wilde decided she wanted a younger couple at the center of the film. Makes sense. Yeah, I know that was something that I said earlier. Um, so allegedly they clashed on set, leading to tensions during both production and promotion for the film. On September 25th, 40 members of the film's crew issued a statement disputing the allegations and dismissing rumors of unprofessional behavior on the set as completely untrue. So,
I
do
didn't
you
know
think it
that.
happened?
I did not know that the crew, actually said that it didn't happen. I feel like we should believe what they're saying. Like I know that people want the drama, and a part of me is like, well, maybe they're just saying it to cover up, but I feel like we should probably believe them that there's no bad blood. Because I know that also people are like, well, Florence didn't really promote the film, so that's probably why she wasn't like she probably really did have issues with Olivia and Harry, but I also did see her post about it and see that she was like out of it. So I don't know. I think that there's probably, I feel like the drama was probably definitely, I don't know, like heightened because of TikTok or like Harry Styles being in it, things like that. I probably wasn't as bad. It probably like simple fight, like small fights.
Yeah. And also, like, if there are 40 members of the crew saying that, maybe it could go two ways. that they're fans of Olivia's and they don't want any bad publicity on the film that they've also worked on. It's hard when you work on a film and then there's bad rep behind it and you're not even a part of it, but because there's
Yeah.
bad rep, it makes you look bad that you were part of a bad set.
Yeah.
So that could be it, or maybe there really didn't nothing bad happened and it's just drama that they're trying to like curate a story for.
Yeah.
They'll be like, like rumor has it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's something we may never know. I think that people have said that Florence Pugh has had like shady comments like since the movie has come out about Olivia Wilde, and even Olivia Wilde's like video that I think was like discovered that she sent to Shia LaBeouf, and she said something about Florence Pugh. But I don't even think any of that indicates that there was like insane drama. I also think that we have to take into consideration that they're working on this movie for months, long hours, and they all have like so much going on in their lives. They're all like somewhat of stars that it could have been a bit contentious just because it's just like a long day. It's like you have so much going on and you're in these roles, and there's not going to be like a perfect, like every day it's not going to be perfect on set. Everyone's not going to be like perfectly getting along.
I did question though what happened with Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah,
he did show the receipt, so that's why I was just like,
yeah, that's a little bit. But even the text that he showed between him and Florence didn't seem like they were that bad. They were also very vague. That like who knows what it could have been indicating. I think like I don't know. That's also a little bit. I'm unsure. I feel like there probably definitely were issues. I just don't think, I think that it might have been blown out of proportion on the viewers, like all of our parts, like the audience part. Like it could, because if it was that bad, I would assume that people would just completely stop filming. Or maybe not. Maybe they were like committed to their job.
Yeah, there are like unhealthy work environments that happen probably all the time. So it could be that people wanted to keep their jobs and they just don't say anything about it. There's just so much that happens in the film world in general. I actually just did the episode on the assistant. So when just like watching the film and then hearing Kitty Green's like backstory on just like how she interviewed other people who work in the entertainment industry and they had the same things to say, and a lot of people have left the industry because of like the poor work environments, and we still see that like it's so competitive. It's such a competitive field, so people will do just about anything to make their way up. And if that is sucking up and sacrificing your feelings because you just need to be on this production set to meet these connections, like you just like suck it up and do it. So
no, it's tough because I feel like there definitely probably were issues. And yeah, like what you're saying, it could be that people are just not like speaking up because they need this job or need this connection. And I think the film industry is one of those industries that has such a hard time making space for like everyone who wants to be in it, or the people who like in the hierarchy of the industry. And it never feels like there's like this equality that's happening. And from set to set, it'll be different too. That there's no, like even what you're saying with the assistant, that there's no, I mean, that was like Harvey Weinstein, so truly terrible, awful. But there's also just so many smaller cases of just not a very safe space to be at work or to feel like you can create or go to someone and talk about, I don't know, about whatever the case may be on set that might be the issue or any of like your goals. Like there's just not like a very safe space. So I could be that too, is what happened. I know Olivia Wilde has like tried to combat that. Like I try to like make I think she mentioned that like you're going to have a bad film if the director is bad and if the set is bad and like not everyone's like getting along pretty much. But then she could just be saying that to just, I don't know, save face. But she did mention that, I think, before all of this drama came out, though. That was her her sentiment.
yeah, no, having a good production crew makes a huge difference. Everyone does have to be happy because it takes a whole team to make a movie. So if there's a department that's not happy, that side of the department will slack or maybe it'll lack something. So I know when I've worked on sets where everyone is on good terms with everyone, there's no drama, everyone's positive, and there's just a light in the room, everything goes so smoothly. Like,
Mhm.
even with problems that arise, like in any production set, there's always problems that arise, but it's like knowing how to take the problem and solve it and just finding solutions for it, not stressing out, um, like easing any tension helps so much. And yeah, no, it definitely makes a difference, but not everyone gets that memo. And a lot
Mhm.
of people have big egos
Mhm.
that are higher ups and hold that executive position. And that's very unfortunate because they don't know what they're jeopardizing. And a lot of people get into this industry not having any background knowledge of what goes on. And they only got the job because they know so and so and they got
Mhm.
this role and they put in money. And yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's what's damaging the industry.
Yeah. It can be really toxic and really unwelcoming. So I don't know if that had anything to do with Don't Worry, Darling. So I don't think so. I think it was more just like internal drama with the like 3 or 4 people, or maybe it was more than that. But yeah, I think it speaks to a bigger issue. Hopefully, it wasn't like just terrible. I think it was more of like someone's like screaming matches, but I'm surprised that there are people coming out saying, like you said, there were the 40 crew members that said it didn't happen, that there wasn't drama. So I'm intrigued by that and how
Yeah.
and who, like, I don't know how we know that there were issues or that there were like screaming matches. I don't know who, like, how that came out first, or like when.
It's Hollywood. I feel like someone will say
So
something,
yeah,
they'll tip it off to someone, and then they hold on to that story and just like go with it. They have no
yeah,
proof, but they'll go with it because people would just pick it up.
yeah. That's true. That's true.
Very sad. Very sad. But yeah, very true. Um, and that's what kind of like scares me about Hollywood is that I hear this all the time, no matter what show I watch that's based in Hollywood, is one, it's hard to meet friends in Los Angeles, to like meet real friends. And two, everyone's looking for something. So if you're not worthy to that specific person, so like if they can't benefit from you,
Hmm.
then they won't even acknowledge you. I know that
Yeah.
you lived in California for a little bit. How did you feel? Like, did you pick up on those vibes?
It wasn't. No, not really. I think because I just was on campus and so people were pretty like welcoming, but I've always kind of I felt that way kind of even in school, only because I was just I felt like such an outsider, and I knew I wanted to work in film. And but I was like an English major and was doing a lot of things in that space. So I felt so outside of like even the friends that I had that were like majoring in film, like, oh, I'm working on this set and I'm doing this, and I'm like a grip, and I was like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And I never felt like I could just like enter that space like smoothly. Like it felt like it was like very like there's a lot of gatekeeping. So I don't even think it's I think I experienced that very minorly. But people were pretty welcoming. I just didn't know how to ask questions. They probably would have helped me. I just didn't know how to ask questions about it. But I have heard that LA is a lot like that. I think New York could probably be like that too, of just not being like, if you aren't going to benefit me, then I have no time for you. If you're not going to like help me move forward in my career, then I don't want to talk to you, which is terrible.
Yeah, I personally have found it hard to meet other creatives here in New York, and I've lived here for like almost like 6 years. And the only way that I was able to find other like a community of other like filmmakers was one, doing the challenge that I did this past summer, and also like being involved with Onyx and like
Mhm.
finding like you and Aspen, like that
Mhm.
helped me kind of find other people that I could relate to, that we could talk, that we could collaborate. But I don't know, I found it hard to find my people. And maybe that's also because I didn't go to film school here. I know
Yeah.
NYU is huge, and I know a lot of people have built their communities because they've gone to NYU, but like an outsider not coming from NYU, I found it hard, and I met more people when I was like on set and stuff. But once I stopped getting on set, I feel like I really lost that like kind of drift of meeting people and meeting connections.
Mhm.
Um, because you're constantly in need of like building connections and like
Exactly,
constantly
yeah.
networking. And when
Yeah.
you're not constantly doing that, like, do you feel like, am I missing out? Like, where am I at?
No, that's exactly the feeling. I felt that way earlier this year, and even just, I guess, fairly recently, about just feeling like an outsider of the things that I like actually want to do, because it was so hard to like actually like consistently meet people. That's why I'm so grateful for Onyx, and like finding Onyx when I did, because I think that was also a way for me to like meet other people who had similar goals, and just getting to like witness people be creative and passionate about similar things that I was, and welcoming about it. I think, like I was saying, like in school, it was hard to kind of like get into that space. But yeah, the networking thing is so important, and it's very hard when people just know how to network very well and like can make a connection so consistently. And I've never been able to fully find that. I think it can be harder too when you're not even just not in film school, but in a career, a direct career that allows you to meet people and go to events and do things and be on set consistently. But yeah, it can definitely feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough to be in this like kind of space and world. I feel that way often. I felt that way recently.
Have you felt like lost navigating, like where, like even as a writer, because there's so many roles in like the industry, but like, have you felt like lost along your way as to like what what do I want to write for? Like, do I want to write for television? Do I want to write for film? Like, do I want to write my own stuff? Do I want to make my own type of career? Like, how have you like seen yourself navigating the industry?
Yeah, I think I know for sure I would want to write for television. I had like a really formative, I guess, experience where in 2020, right before the pandemic, I got to go on set for a show called Single Parents. I ended up getting canceled that year. And we went into the writer's room. We got to meet the writers and see like writer's room, and like they walked us through what they do. And I think in that moment, I was like, this is for sure what I want to do. It was just kind of that click where I was like, this, I could do this like for the rest of my life. And this is definitely a role that I'm also just such a fan of like getting to stay with characters for a long time and seeing them grow over time, that I think I would really enjoy that job. I think until that point, it's really hard though to like shift into being a television writer. Like there's so many, I think it can be, I shouldn't say it's easier, but you can find a path clearer if you want to be a director, because you can direct independently, or you can produce independently. But with like television writing, it's harder unless you're like, especially if your shows don't get picked up and then you're like bound to go around. So for me, I think yes, it is kind of hard to navigate what I want to do until then. Like, do I want to write and like try to sell my ideas, or do I want to try and like production assist and then like get into a writer's room? And I think that's a difficulty. I'm also, because I was an English major, I still really love prose and like short stories, and it's still like a distant goal of mine to like possibly write a collection of short stories. Cause it's something that I like have done for so long, and it's still a passion, but it's not connected to film. That I think, yes, I'm kind of still all over the place. I know what I want, but I also don't know how to get there fully. So
I feel you. Because there's so many different roads. And I think that the only type of road that is shown to us is like the traditional route to go.
Mhm.
But I've seen people who don't go the traditional route, who don't follow the rules, and they become successful because they don't do that and they do it their
Yeah.
own way.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think when people, there's a lot of not pressure, but it's easier to see people who go the film school route, go directly into either like production company or just working on some kind of roles, and they're freelancers. I because I didn't do that, a lot of times it does feel like I am missing out on something because I didn't do that traditional route. And that it can be, that's where that like feeling of like, oh, I feel so lost because I didn't do that. Now I have to like make it on my own and like figure it out on my own, which is really scary at times. But yeah, there are definitely people who have not gone the traditional route, did not do film school, found a way on sets, found a way in writers' room, found a way to get their films made. And those are always stories I love hearing because it's encouraging to continue on.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's what makes me, I think, question things is that without going the traditional route and going your own route or like paving your own way,
Mhm.
creating your own opportunities, it seems so scary to think of, and I think that's why people don't do it enough because of, like, that sense of fear of failure, but
Yeah.
I think that's what's holding us back as creatives, is that we're just not enough of us put our own stuff out there and
Mhm.
pave our own ways or, like, make our own opportunities because we think that it's gonna come our way, but sometimes it's not, and I've realized that with all of the rejection I was getting for, like, a hot minute, I'm just like, at this point, I need to make my own opportunities. Because I
Yeah.
can't be so reliant on people to make it for me, one, or to even offer me a position, you know?
Yeah.
And when you are on set, you have to like be on set as a PA or like, and then make your way up. And hopefully, like, you will get that opportunity to be in a writer's room. And then from there on, you can, like, but it's like kind of like Monopoly. It's like not everyone is going to get that opportunity because there's
Mhm.
like a lot of no's before you do get the yes. Like, I feel like an actor, like all of these no's, and then you'll get that one yes that will like
Yeah.
finally open the door for you to like all of these opportunities. Like, it really is that way. Um, and I think that's because of just how it plays out. That's why I stopped working on production, just all in general, because I just got tired of the traditional way that you have to be working 12 hours a day. And maybe you'll make your way up to whatever position that you want to do, build up your hours. And maybe when you're 40, you'll finally get to be at the PGA or like the DGA, whatever you want to
Mhm.
do. And I don't want to wait that long.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think it's like, yeah, it's really difficult. It's one of those things too where a part of it's like you can do like production assisting jobs and things that you maybe don't want to do to get to that role, but then it's also like maybe doing things on the side that are your own thing to like kind of combat those like these long hours of the things that I don't really want to do. But then it's also hard to balance that where you are putting so much time into other people's work, into production and doing jobs like that. And then also like making sure you are doing your own thing. Like that's what's the difficult part. And it's just difficult to navigate. And there's no real, even knowing that there's a traditional route, there's no real like guide to this. There's no like no one's like going to be like, this is exactly what you need to do because like what you're saying, there's so many different paths that it's hard to be like what next? Like what do I do next? Um, but I think that's also that can also be like kind of encouraging because if there's so many different paths, like there's no reason to like compare to like, oh, like this person had it this path that I thought would be for me. But because it's like everyone has such a different path getting to their end goal. So, I don't know. It's partly
Mm.
encouraging and also discouraging.
Yeah, no, I know. And there's been so many successes when people just make their own films or just do their own projects, like Issa Rae, who made her own web series on YouTube and who was doing that for quite some time, and then she got picked up by HBO. Or Lena Denham, or Lena, is it Lena or Lena?
Oh
I think
yes,
it's Lena.
Lena. Yeah, Lena.
She did the same thing, right? Where she created her web series and then it got picked up. Broad City, same
Mm.
thing, got picked up. So like those are like the stories that I always like reflect back on. I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it. I can pave my own way. And I've seen this big shift in like, I don't know if you've seen it, but in the entertainment industry, right? We have our traditional way of us doing these traditional roles, but now with social media becoming such a big platform for all these types of industries, right? We haven't utilized social media to the extent that we can, right? And I've
Mhm.
seen this TikToker who has utilized social media with film. He's the only one to do it. He's the only one I see that gets paid for it. But it's
Okay.
just an incredible new role that like I want to see myself as. And it's a non-traditional role, right?
Yeah.
never seen before, but it's possible. And it's like, if that's possible, then so are many other roles, right?
What
That
does
we can
he?
start putting away.
Yeah. What does he do? Who is it?
The guy with the movie camera.
Ah, Reese. Yeah. Okay. Yes, I
Yeah.
know you're talking about. Yes, love him.
Yeah.
Love
See?
seeing. I literally love. I think I followed him right around the time he was on Marvelous Mr. Maisel, and he was a production assistant. And then now, yeah, he's doing like I think he does behind the scenes press
Hmm.
stuff. Okay, yeah,
Yeah. Behind the
I love
scenes. So
seeing
he
it.
just makes TikToks with
Yeah,
stars from the film, and just to create, like, it's another way to PR the movie because social media is so big.
yeah. No, I think that there's. I feel like there are definitely a lot of roles that we are just not aware of that are possible and set that also can inspire like I don't know, like new career changes. That's what I'm really interested in is seeing what else is out there. Like especially what you're saying with social media, there's so much that can be done to like promote a film or promote a series, or even bringing back like web series, like from like to Instagram reels or like TikTok. I think it's possible, and we just have not like fully found how to do that yet. But I think it's coming. I think there'll be a way to just. I feel like for a while Snapchat had shows, but no one watched them. Um, yeah, I feel like it's possible on like TikTok and Instagram.
They still do. I watch them. I watch on Snapchat stories because there's
Mhm.
some like ones that I subscribe to. Like there's like this like e-news one that tells me all the drama with celebrities, and I'm always like watching that.
Yeah.
Trying to get the tea. But yeah, because everything's short form now. So I mean, that's something that I wanted to do with this podcast as well, is be able to create kind of like a short form content of this where not only are you listening to it when you're streaming, but maybe when you're scrolling on TikTok or like Instagram,
Yeah.
because yeah, our attention spans are shorter.
Mhm.
And we like visualizing things, we like seeing things, and people don't want to just hear anymore. They want to be able to see it as well.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. There's definitely untapped water. Is that the term? There's areas untapped that can be explored in film and TV. Um, that I think like that can be it. Like what you're saying is like kind of making your own path and discovering it that way. Discovering like what you're good at, like what you like to do. I think that that's kind of a goal instead of trying to make a traditional route happen. I think that that's what I was so focused on, was like trying to force a traditional route to happen. And I'm kind of realizing too, it's not, that that's going to be the path, which is okay.
Because we're used to structure, we're used to seeing what everyone else has done. So we think, okay, that's the right way to go about things. Like that's how our brains have been wired to think, right?
Yeah.
That we have to follow how everyone else has been doing things. And then if we steer away from that, then we're doing something wrong, and that maybe we're messing it up for ourselves. Um, and it could be like imposter syndrome too, where we feel like we're not good enough if we're going this non-traditional route. That
Mm-hmm.
because we couldn't make it in the traditional route, that we're not good enough.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
100% feel the imposter syndrome, especially because I know so many people who are like really successful and like they're or just like have found it pretty not easy, but yeah, successful in the path that they're going, that they are able to get on that path fairly easily or consistently, which is a good thing. That's not me being like, it's just like one of those things where I see it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel so like out of so like I can't do this. Like I must not be good enough for this if I like also am like having such a difficult time. Which is it's really silly when you think about it because it's not true. And obviously, like all of our lives look different, but it's easy to like feel that way when you like see so many, yeah, like people being successful the traditional way.
Yeah, especially on LinkedIn, because then they put the traditional companies on there, like, I just got promoted to this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm over here, like, still applying to that same company that you got promoted to like 3 times by now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely hard. It's definitely difficult. It's something that I'm like trying to unlearn, as that I don't, it's one of those things too where I've like talked to people who are writers about this too, that no matter how many stories you see from like a certain idea, your perspective still matters because it's your perspective. And so it's the same way with like the careers, that it's not, even though this person's doing it this way, like it's still worth going after because it's something that you want. It's still your passion. So worth pursuing that, even if it doesn't look perfectly.
I know. And the creative fields are always the most difficult in my, like, I guess in my perspective, like, because we, it's so hard to keep putting that like positive smile because of how much rejection we do face and how things don't completely go our way. And like, I know I have struggled with it like time and time again, but like you're right, like there's only us who can tell our own stories. And like for me in writing, like I know that I'm the only one who can tell my story, even though writing isn't my strong suit, right? And nor like but it's something that I have to get over, right? Like I have to get over me self-doubting my abilities so I can be able to tell my story and so I can put myself out there. Yeah.
Yes, totally. Yes. It is worth pursuing, even if you don't, even if it's like, yeah, I feel that way even when I write or like do any kind of creative thing where it's like, I don't know how good I am at this, if it's work. But I think like that's just, it definitely is an imposter syndrome thing. I think I've seen even, who's the director who did Little Women? Greta Gerwig. Yeah. I think she also was just like, don't throw away like first drafts, like don't throw away your ideas early on. Like these, like everyone has a draft that's like not great or an idea that's not great. That's like, you build from there. Like it's probably not as bad as you think. And like even the most like famous and like well-loved directors and writers came from like that like terrible first draft. But it's not worth overthinking it because it's, yeah, we all have like stories to tell. It's just about like crafting it and cultivating those ideas into something that's, I don't know, visual and perfect.
Yeah, no, but right. That was something that I was telling you too, where I was just like, I want to scratch all of this. Like, I just want to throw it all out and just like start all over again. But no, I think she makes a point there. Like you can curate, you start with something and you can just keep building from there. There's no such thing. And I told my kids this when I used to teach, there's no such thing as a bad idea. And when you're younger, you're so much more open to all of these ideas and your imagination is so big. And it's true. Once you get older, I feel like you start shutting off and you start caring more about what other people are going to think or how people are going to receive it. If it's going to get the likes that you're hoping for, like you care so much about the end result and how it's going to be received.
Yeah. It's really, yeah, that's like, I think about this a lot. We definitely lose that like childhood innocence when we grow up, which is like awful because yeah, we overthink so much of what we do when it's probably not how it probably doesn't matter how we're received. And if it's like an honest depiction of like our ideas, and it's fine. And that's what matters. But I also think that is why so many people don't go after their goals, like creatively, is that fear. I know for me, it's that fear of like not being good enough and not being accepted, which is like, how would I know if I don't write it? Or how would I know if I don't like actually do it?
Exactly. That's why we need to keep pushing ourselves and we got to get there.
Definitely.
All right. Well, that pretty much does it for this conversation for today. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Film Spill, a movie night podcast. Thank you, Danyela, for being an amazing guest and for coming back on to the podcast. If you want to plug in any of your socials, any projects that you're currently working on.
Yes, I'm not working on anything currently to look out for, but my Instagram is at Danyela, DANYELA _Gotcher, GOCCHER. You can follow me there. So fun talking about this movie.
And we hope that you go and watch the film. You can follow Film Spill on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest, all at Film Spill Pod. Tell a friend about the podcast if you like, and leave a review for us on Apple Podcasts. That will help other people find Film Spill too.
Until next time, don't cry over spilled film.